It is widely agreed upon that bullying involves the use of force, threat, or coercion to abuse, intimidate, or aggressively dominate others. The behavior is often repeated and habitual. It's a problem that's been talked about. Campaigns have been formed. Organizations across the country are combating this epidemic. Children and teachers are creating awareness in almost every city. People are being compelled to take notice. So why is bullying more prevalent today than ever? On this episode of Live Life Forward, bullying. What is being done, who are the targets, and who are the perpetrators? Here at the Seattle Children's Research Institute, one woman is leading the charge on bullying.
That for a long time, bullying was considered kind of a rite of passage. But what we know now from some of the research studies is that bullying is an event that is associated with significant health issues and even brain changes in cases of chronic bullying.
I spent the day with her team, and a group of brave kids hearing about how bullying has affected their lives and what they're doing about it. We begin with a special panel of experts. A researcher, an educator, and a mother of 3 teens. But first, we want to hear from an educational expert at state level. Here's what he had to say.
The most important, the most powerful protective factor you have to make sure your kids are safe online is talk to them. Have conversations. Then the other part of that is listen to them. Listen to what they're telling you, and then build that whole conversation around what are we all doing together to stay safe? Keep our kids safe. So talking with the kids, talking with the adults, with the teachers, messages home to families, understanding what it is we're talking about, what it is we're doing, how you can help, how we can help you, how we can all support each other. It's got to be the larger community of everybody involved with that kid's life.
Ladies, thank you for joining us and being here today. I want to get right to it. Nikita, I'm going to start with you because you're a researcher.
Yes.
What's the research show about this situation today?
We know that bullying is associated with short-term and long-term consequences for both the person that's being bullied as well as the perpetrators. And so some of those consequences can be anxiety, depression, an increase in alcohol and substance use, lower grades, as well as just skipping school altogether.
Holly, you're an educator. How does the schools deal with the research that comes from what Nikita's just been talking about?
Real life bullying and online bullying aren't that different. It's really about behavior. It's not about the method where it's happening. So we really want to talk about behavior, but when it comes to the cyber part of it, we use technology for a lot of things. And so anytime we're working on a project that involves technology of any kind, there's a behavioral element to that we want to incorporate into the teaching. Like, well, how are we going to use this tool to communicate effectively? We talk a lot about the fact that once you have a screen in front of you and you're interacting in a digital format, you lose face-to-face conversation. You can't see someone's facial expressions. You can't hear the tone of their voice. You can't see if they're smiling when they're talking. You have to interpret what they're saying in a very different way when it's text only or when it's through some digital medium. So there's lots of opportunities in the work we do as educators. They give us a chance to talk about what's the behavior that we want to see in this space so that we give kids the tools to practice. What I like to talk to kids about is that whole idea of when you're in a group and you're in a situation where you're witnessing something. What is it about the group dynamics that make it okay for you to stand up and say something, or what might prevent you from speaking up yourself in that situation? What I like to do in lessons is to give them like role play exercises. Let's look at a situation and let's look at all of the different players in this situation. Well, what would we do at each step along the way to stop this from happening?
Shannon, you have 3 teenagers.
I do.
God bless you. How do you react in this environment? There's a certain trust you have to have with your children. I mean, children do keep things to themselves. How do you deal with that as a parent?
I think that the family values that we instill and start talking to our kids about when they're really young have a huge impact on how they're going to want to present themselves in an online situation, whether that's through text or social media. I also feel like having set times in the house where there is no phone. We have no phones at the dinner table. Phones are put away at a certain time. I do feel that being able to help your child have some adults in their life outside of their family that they feel like they can talk to is a huge benefit in a situation like that. It's not always fun to go to your mom if you have something that's that you are unsure of how to handle, but maybe being able to go to your teacher or maybe being able to go to your school counselor is a benefit for sure.
I'm curious because a lot of the time I think bullies are being bullied themselves. I think that's part of the reason this happens. You're nodding your head. As a researcher, is that something that you find?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to acknowledge that a lot of the kids who are bullies have been victims of bullying themselves. And so I think it's important in order to try to solve this issue, we not only just focus on just the bully themselves, but just the community as a whole. We need to be creating social norms that make it so that bullying is not okay in these spaces. So instead of just, focusing specifically on the one child that's being the bully or the victim, we need to create a community where this is just not allowed.
Ladies, thank you for joining me. And that was a lot of useful information. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Coming up, bullying and the effects it has on today's kids.
My advice for the bullies would be to think about what you say or post before you actually do it, because the words that you have or the words that you say can impact somebody in a far different direction than you could have thought of.
Ranked 5th in the nation by U.S. News and World Report, Seattle Children's provides hope, care, and cures to help every child live the healthiest and most fulfilling life possible. Delivering superior patient care to children every day, they specialize in meeting the unique physical, emotional, and developmental needs of children. Seattle Children's Research Institute, conducting pioneer research to improve the lives of children everywhere.
So Adrian, I'm really excited to introduce you to some of our adolescent and young adult colleagues. This is Abigail and Varsha, who are both high school seniors, and Danny, who's a freshman in college. We have been fortunate to work with each of these guys in a program that we run every summer to teach adolescents about research skills. So all of them are researchers.
Thanks for joining us today. We're talking about bullying. Do you have these issues in high school?
I do feel that as I have gotten older, it's a lot more, instead of bullying in person, it's a lot more of online bullying, cyberbullying. So that has definitely become more prevalent.
What about you?
I guess I also go to a small school, but the experience is a little bit different. So mine is just a high school. It's about 500 students. And even though we all know each other, there's not much outright bullying, but a lot of purposeful exclusion, a lot of those type of things go on in high school, especially since people can't be outright mean without being scolded by others.
What about you, Danny? Do you find it different in college?
I believe that most of it isn't one-on-one contact. It's usually just a general post towards a certain group, whether it be towards a certain religion or a certain club or ethnic group or someone's sexuality or sexuality in general. Usually it's more of a group attack rather than one-on-one.
What do you think the solution to it is? I mean, is it the kids that should get involved? Is it the parents? I mean, is it a collaboration between everybody? What do you think the solution to it is?
Our school does a lot of programs to really foster the school community just so people don't feel left out. We have a specific program for freshmen, so as they're coming in, they're are sure to make friends. They won't just come in alone, not knowing anybody. We kind of have through the year socials for them, and also we have a Safe School Ambassador program at our school, so that's been really helpful just so there's some students who know specifically how to work around those situations where people are being bullied, even if it's not outright. They know how to include those people and how to make them not feel left out, and that's been pretty successful at our school.
How close are you to your parents? Because a lot of the time the issue is how much do you tell your parents? Mm-hmm. If somebody's mean to you, if somebody says something, somebody cyberbullies you, how much do you tell them? How much trust do you have? Is it easy for you guys to talk about that with your parents?
Me and my parents have a good relationship and we can talk about things, which I think is good because sometimes students think that their parents are embarrassing or, if they talk, especially with cyberbullying online, I think that having a parent presence online can kind of moderate what the posts that the students are posting to make sure that, if I see my child posting something really sad, then I can, if they don't want to tell me, at least I know something is going on online, especially.
Are you guys close to your parents? Do you tell them everything, or do you kind of keep some stuff back?
Yeah, pretty close to my parents, I guess. I wouldn't tell them everything, but yeah, I feel like I can talk about those things too, so.
Danny?
Well, typically I don't tell my parents about my online behavior because they don't know how to work it anyways. So
See, there's the answer.
usually I either talk to my friends about it or my siblings, because I have older siblings as well. We're supportive of each other and everyone else, so I know that if I ever came across a cyberbullying incident, I would have a community to fall back onto.
If you each had to say to somebody what would be the focus of your comment to somebody that was a bully or being bullied?
It's really important to have a support system, to really reach out to someone, have friends, family, even faculty. Like our school staff is pretty great at that.
Bullying is a serious matter, and it's not just like a phase or something. And if we tell students, to be kind to one another and watch out, for bullying incidents when they're young, then when they're older, they can be more careful to not be like the perpetrators of bullying,
right.
Or they can watch out for other people who are doing it and tell them, hey, that's not cool, you should quit that.
My advice for the bullies would be to think about what you say or post before you actually do it, because the words that you have or the words that you say can impact somebody in a far different direction than you could have thought of.
Guys, thank you for joining me and sharing your time with us to bring us all that information. Time now to hear from another outstanding teen who's part of All States They Say project.
My name is Amit Todani. I'm 19 years old. They say that young people are lazy and apathetic. I say that young people are severely underestimated. I'm the founder and CEO of My Name, My Story, an organization that teaches the 21st century skills of empathy, teamwork, and innovation to middle and high school students across the country. Young people would rather be told what they can do rather than what they can't, meaning they're looking for opportunities. My work with Peace First began when I was 15 years old, and Peace First gives young people the confidence, the tools, and resources that they need to succeed on a much, much higher level. My advice for any young person out there looking to do something is take what you're passionate in and run with it, and use that to help other people in your community. We're able to derive such incredible happiness and joy and passion from giving to others. It is truly, truly contagious. So join us.
Time now to hear from another outstanding teen who's part of All States They Say project.
My name is Zaire Justice Doggett, and they say I'm weird, but what they don't know is that I'm just a little more different than they are. What made me make an impact on bullying and harassment is because I was bullied myself, and from seeing others be bullied in my school. I'm helping giving back by putting positive slogans on t-shirts and handing them out to adults and children. I think the biggest misperception of our youth is when people think that we can't get off our phones and make a change. We can go out and help others and talk to others, like I do. We can start support groups or walks for bullying. We can try to be more upstanders than bystanders and watching people get hurt. Be an upstander, people. Do right. Do good.
We'll hear from one woman who is on a crusade against bullying. Stay with us.
Ranked 5th in the nation by U.S. News and World Report, Seattle Children's provides hope, care, and cures to help every child live the healthiest and most fulfilling life possible. Delivering superior patient care to children every day, they specialize in meeting the unique physical, emotional, and developmental needs of children. Seattle Children's Research Institute, conducting pioneer research to improve the lives of children everywhere.
Welcome back to Live Life Forward. It's time to meet the woman behind the crusade to stop bullying on a national level. Not only is she shining a light on the epidemic, she's offering tangible solutions we can all implement. We've spent a lot of time talking, and we've seen everybody, and we've heard everybody, and I'm kind of curious. I've got a couple of questions. Why do you do what you do?
My interest and my passion for the topic of bullying comes from what my patients tell me. So every week when I'm in clinic and I'm hearing the stories of my patients and I'm seeing what impacts their health, bullying is something that comes up. And so that really drives my interest in engaging with some of the stakeholders we met in our adult panel and talking to the kids and doing research to try to solve some of the questions that are out there.
You see patients as a pediatrician and then you evaluate them for bullying. How does that work?
Well, it's pretty rare to have a patient come to clinic and have their main complaint be that they were bullied. But often what we see is patients come to us with concerns like abdominal pain, headaches, trouble sleeping, their depression's getting worse or their anxiety is getting worse. And what we're thinking about is what contributed to that. And in many cases, bullying was a contributor to that physical or mental health problem.
So do you deal with them on a physical level or a mental problem at that point?
Both. We deal with them on a wellness level of what are the things that are impacting their health.
When I was a kid, a lot of the time, bullying was kind of part of grow up and, pull your socks up and do everything. But I think that's changed now. I mean, is it different then? Has there been an advance as to how we deal with bullying today?
I think you're right. I think that for a long time bullying was considered kind of a rite of passage. But what we know now from some of the research studies is that bullying is an event that is associated with significant health issues and even brain changes in cases of chronic bullying.
What do you think it stems from?
I think that a lot of researchers have postulated that where bullying can come from is a combination of probably genetics and environment. So if you have genetics that maybe you're more aggressive and then you're in an environment that is permissive or nurturing of that aggressiveness, you might be someone who's more at risk for being involved. I think the more we all collaborate, the less bullying we'll see.
How easy is a collaboration between all those people that you talked about?
I think that's an advance that's a little more recent, because I think in the past what we saw is that there was a group of education researchers who were really skilled in this area, but most of their research was only known to themselves and they were only working with themselves. And then you'd have a group of psychologists and a group of pediatricians. But what we see now is that people are starting to break down some of those boundaries and collaborate with each other to understand what each of them has to offer.
Do you think the parents and the friends of kids have a lot to say in this issue?
Oh, definitely. I think the more that we can include them as stakeholders in thinking about the problem as well as the solution, the more likely we're going to come up with solutions that work.
How do you think you would actually deal with a kid that, okay, kid's been bullied. He's been bullied at school. What would you tell the kid and what would you tell the parent?
A lot of what we talk about in our clinic when we see kids who have been bullied is asking who else is involved and making sure that they've involved the people that are best able to help them. So we want to make sure that they've involved folks at school, they've involved their healthcare providers, they've involved their parents and the people in their family, because we know the more networked a child is, the better able they're going to be able to address bullying.
There's another issue, which is the trust between parent and child and friends to actually be able to open up to say, hey, listen, somebody's doing something to me that I really don't want them to do. How do we deal with that problem?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think one of the things that gives me optimism is that research has shown if you can get a kid to interact with just one person about their experience with bullying, they're more likely to be resilient and to do better with that situation. So it just takes that one person that they interact with who's willing to listen and support them. And that could be a parent, a teacher, a friend, a friend's parent. It could be anybody, whether you're a Boy Scout leader or a piano teacher or a custodial staff in your school. Developing those strong relationships with kids and letting them know you're a safe person to talk to, that I think is something that each of us can do in our lives that will probably make a difference for a kid who's been bullied.
Thank you for hosting us here today. It's a fabulous organization, and you've given us some great tools to move forward and try and help the viewers see a little bit more about what the issues of bullying are, and hopefully we can come back and visit you again.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Megha. Thank you so much. Before we go, I want to leave you with a quote I heard from former professional football player Ty Howard. The scars from being a victim of bullying may heal over time, but the trauma from the experience may never be forgotten. I hope we shed some light and offered some solutions on how we can all make a difference. For more resources and information, please go to seattlechildrens.org/research or visit our website. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Live Life Forward.